Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in. Guess what's back? The Naked palette. Yes, they have relaunched the Urban Decay Naked palette. I'm amazed it was sent to me in PR. It's absolutely crazy how, was it last week or the week before, I was like, oh, my original Naked palette's in my little retirement box over there in the corner of the room. And then literally the next day I find out there's gonna be a relaunch of that product. It's crazy. So here's my old one, here's my new one. You can see the packaging is still that velvety exterior. It really does look to be the same shape and size. And I think it's so funny because they put in a certificate of authenticity, original eyeshadow palette, Urban Decay Naked. But then they do go on to say that it's an updated formula. So I dug into that a little bit more, and they say now it's a vegan formulation to the eyeshadow, and also it comes with a cruelty-free brush. The original one, which I have right here, it came with a double-ended eyeliner. And for reference, I think my first video, I remember comparing this to the Too Faced Natural Eye. It would have been like 14 years ago maybe. And then like 7 years ago I did an eyeshadow throwback video featuring the Naked palette. But here's a look at the original. You can see a lot of those shades are pretty well worked into. And now on top there's the new Naked palette. So at a glance, yes, they really do look like the same palette. I've swatched both out and just done a couple of rows of swatches just because I really wanted to feel the texture of the new one and see if I sensed any differences. And some differences that I may be noticing in terms of softness, you realize when a shade gets worked into a little bit, I think it can soften up some. Sometimes you're working right off the surface of that newly pressed shade and it's a little firmer than it might ultimately turn out to be. So just keep that in mind. With some shades, I sensed more softness in my old palette, and I just felt like maybe it was because it had been worked into more. But all in all, they swatched very similarly. There were a couple of shades where I noticed a little difference. The shade Sidecar, 4 shades in, that seems a little bit cooler in the original palette. I thought the metallic on Half Baked seems a little louder in the old one. I feel like Smog is quite a bit different. It seems significantly deeper in the older palette. And as far as Toasted, I'm not sure if you can tell by the swatches on there. The old one seems a little bit cooler, almost like there's more mauve in the old one and a little bit more pink in the newer one. They're really close. I'm just saying there's some subtle differences. It's one of those things where if you look at the big picture, you see everything, you're like, oh, okay, same thing. But if you really start looking closely, you may see a few subtle shade changes. It's almost like Urban Decay was trying to dupe themselves with a new formula. But when we're thinking quality of a palette, I don't really like to put too much stock in swatches. I think I used to on my channel put like all my faith in how it's swatched and really judge something by that. But I think we need to pay attention to the application, the way brushes go into the product, and do they kick up tons of fallout or do they not? How smooth and blendable is the application? That's really important. Here is the brush that they're giving us. It has a sort of fluffy blender brush. The ferrule is pinched just slightly there, giving it maybe a bit more width than just your typical round fluffy brush. And then this little guy is a chonky little short brush, okay? So it's kind of thick, but it's not very long. I could see that doing some lid stuff. I could see this working into the crease. So we're gonna go with this for a little bit and I'll see if I need to pull in anything different. But shade names are the same, like the placement and the way the mirror is there is the same, overall feel of the palette. Also in the package, they threw in an original primer potion, so we're gonna use that today as well. It's been a while since I've used primer potion, my friends. It's more transparent than I remember. Maybe my Milani neutralizes more than I realize. We're going to begin with the provided brush. I'm going to go to the shade called Naked. This brush feels actually a little bit firm. I might have pushed into that shade a little harder than I needed to, but it did kick up some fallout. So we're getting that nice natural crease. Naked palette's making a comeback. Maybe M's channel's gonna make a comeback. I don't know, gang. I'm trying to put myself on all the platforms that I can now. Like I'm trying to get a little bit better about doing more short content and not doing less long content, but just like exposing myself to others in places like TikTok and Instagram Reels and stuff like that, just to try to, I don't know, bring some people back to the longer videos. I know it's a really busy time of year for people, so that may be part of it. And I also just know that I am into makeup on a level that maybe doesn't resonate with everyone. I hear from people sometimes in comments saying like, my love for makeup has kind of died down, but I'll still watch your videos, which I think is absolutely amazing. But I'm sure a lot of people's love for makeup has died down and then they don't watch, so that happens. That's okay. I'm gonna keep doing my thing, but I would really appreciate it if you could like, comment, and share this stuff so the channel can keep thriving, because I feel like my content is actually better than ever. I feel like I'm more in tune with products. I feel like I'm more just bringing the real me into it. I'm really proud of my content. Anywho, let's go into Buck. There's Buck. It's just a little deeper than Naked. Sticking with that brush, and yeah, I'm really liking what that's doing in the crease. It's funny to just say these shade names again, like they were such a fixture. I'm tapping off a little excess when I go in. Again, this brush has some stiffness. Go in gently. I think it's important for people to use the brush that comes with it, though, to show people like, here's what it will do, because I mean, it's part of the product. It's an actual like full-size good quality brush. All right, so we got that blended in. I feel like the brush has been doing well. It feels to me like a little bit bigger than my Profusion crease brush, but it's doing a pretty good job. I'm gonna go to Virgin over here. I was wondering if maybe they made this a little, no, it still has a little sheen. We'll hit up under the brow with that. Ooh, I need to share at the end what all's all over the rest of my face as well. Okay, I want to go into this side of the brush and do a little something deep. I'm going to go into Hustle because I remember this being one of my favorite shades in the original, the sort of hint of plum in this palette, but it doesn't come off really vibrantly that way, but you can just see that in the shade as it sits alongside the other colors. This brush is doing the job. It is wedging in the crease, kind of. You kind of need to get product right on the tip because it's, again, kind of thick. And an interesting thing about the Naked palette is it's very shimmer heavy. You know, there's really two pure mattes in here, Naked and Buck. Everything else has some level of shimmer. Now, it's not all loud, really blinding metallics. Like, for example, this shade I'm using now, it's got depth. It's not really shiny, but it does have some shimmer. I'm not absolutely loving the way it's going on with that brush. That might be a good little smudgy thing, but it's not gonna cover a really good surface area. I'm gonna go in with my flat brush now. I'm gonna take the same shade, and I'm just gonna feel a little bit more like coverage with the product, patting it on there on the outside. One thing about the other content that I'm posting, what makes it a little bit tricky is how YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and TikTok all allow like a different maximum time. So TikTok, you know, you can go several minutes on there, which really makes me feel a bit more free. I kind of like that. It's hard to sometimes just contain it to 1 minute for your YouTube short. It's like, ugh. But yet you kind of want to do something that qualifies as a short so people can scan through and you'll appear there, right? So that's a little hard, but I'm doing it. I'm just taking my small pointed brush with nothing added and working that shade around a bit. Instagram Reels, I think, can be 90 seconds, but then, like I said, TikTok can go a little further. So the way I think my content is gonna appear is that my shortest stuff will be on Instagram and Shorts, and there will probably be some things where I go a little longer, and so ultimately every piece of short content I'm going to try to put up on TikTok. That's where you can go to make sure maybe you haven't missed anything. So this is the result right now of starting with Naked, deepening the crease with Buck, a little bit of this as a highlight, and then we used Hustle on the outer corner. Honestly, just looking like kind of a deep, cool brown. Coming inward, I want to take some of Half Baked because I was just wondering like how metallic really is this shade in this palette, because the swatch appeared a bit more metallic in the old one. So I'm going to pick up some of that gold. We'll just see if it's gold enough for me. I would say it really is. It's not too brassy. It's just a really wearable, easy gold color. And put that all over the rest of my lid. I would say that shade did actually just fine. I'm gonna take a bit of Sin with that same brush. So Sin, just a tinge more pinkiness in Sin compared to Virgin, and more shimmer as well. Just dabbing around that inner corner. It's seeming a little smoother than I remember that shade to be. I'm wondering if I just take a little bit of Creep. Okay, Creep's our darkest shade in the palette. just a little bit. Creep is one of those shades where, you know, if you apply it the way I am, you might just think it's a matte, but it does have like a little bit of shimmer and sparkle in it if you laid it down really opaque. But I'm just thinking of doing a little lift in the outer corner. Just a little lift, you know. Hey, Biddy. Biddy's been counting down the days till school starts. Thursday's the day. I'm just blending on the outside now after I added Creep. Just using my usual old crease brush. I just wanted to work that in. I wanted to feel a little more intensity and contrast. Like I said, this could be a smudging tool. Let's just pick something up here. Let's take maybe a little dark horse or sort of golden brown in the center. I picked up that shadow right off the tip of the brush because, again, it's got some thickness and it's absolutely perfect for under eye. Love that. Picking it up, tapping off excess if there is any. Personally, how do I feel about this palette coming back? I'm excited about it. I think Urban Decay needed something to get people talking about Urban Decay again. I think the relaunch was smart. They're making it seem like it's a pretty limited time thing. By the way, it came in a nice little box here. I was like so excited opening it up. Exclusive to Ulta starting on the 4th. It says for a super limited time only though at Ulta. And this palette is going to actually cost $5 more than the original price. It will sell for $59. But again, brush inside, there's what we're working with. I'm going to finish off my look and I'll be right back. Alrighty friends, here's the finished look. I used some liquid liner across the top. That's my Milani The Tank liquid liner. It's in the brown shade, and then I used my Tartelette tubing mascara. On my lips, I pulled out an Urban Decay lipstick. This is a Shine Formula lipstick in the shade Local. I was wanting to do a soft pink thing. I wanted to remind myself of maybe a lip look I would have paired with this back in the day. So I did that. I neatened up my edges a little bit with the e.l.f. Cream Glide in the shade Mauve Aside, and then layered up this gloss from Hard Candy. It's the Glosstopia Lip Slide Creamy Lip Oil in Pink Play. So that's that lip combo, and then all over the skin, I am sporting this combo of products. I've got on my Maybelline Perfector 4-in-1 in the shade Light. So that's giving like a soft, thin, glowy primer effect type of thing. And then I've got the L'Oreal True Match Nude Hyaluronic Tinted Serum, shade Light. I love that combo of products. They wear really well for me together for whatever reason. Did the under eye, that's e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer, set it with Maybelline Fit Me. And then the rest of my cheek colors, bronzer and whatnot, is coming from the Physicians Formula Butter Dream Team palette. I've got both of these bronzers on. I'm wearing this as my blush and that as my highlighter. So my takeaway on this palette is good for you, Urban Decay, for bringing back a classic. I understand if formulas need to change to keep up with, you know, the way they're doing things now with their brand. I do think the people who get this, who maybe have never tried the Naked palette and think, I want exactly whatever that used to be that people were experiencing, I think you can feel content that you are getting that. There may be, you know, just a few subtle differences in the depth of a certain shade or just a teeny difference in tone here or there, but as a whole, the whole picture of the palette, what you're getting, I think is very consistent with what Urban Decay had going in the past. I had no struggles creating this eye look. It was a little different just using their brush instead of the brushes that I'm used to using all the time, but that brush actually worked quite well, mainly for shadow in the crease and also smudging beneath the eye, and maybe just any other little detailed areas that you're working with. That smaller end could be good in the inner corner too. So thank you all so much for watching. I would love to hear in the comments if you are deciding to pick up a fresh Naked palette. Are you going back to your old palette? I guess that kind of depends on maybe where along the line you picked up a Naked palette. How old is your original Naked palette? Mine was about as old as the launch. I feel like I got my original one not long after it first came out. But how do you feel about this? Let me know in the comments section, and I will talk to y'all again very soon. I love you. Bye.